Okay, a good nerve Shabbos. Welcome everybody to the Parshat class. The stragglers will straggle in and we'll welcome them when they come. I want to thank you to Torah Anytime for broadcasting this, and if anybody's interested in seeing other Torah Anytime shiurim of previous classes, just go to TorahAnytime.com and click on me, or go to the Torah Anytime hotline 718-298-2077 and click in 881. 881 and welcome around the world. Parshas Ba'alosecha, you actually need about 3 weeks. You have to quarantine for 14 days to be able to get through all the fantastic inyanim in Parshas Ba'alosecha. But I'm going to choose 3 after the beginning. And the first I want to just take note, because you can't mention Parshas Ba'alosecha without mentioning the Neiros. As it states in the beginning of the Parsha, Daber el Aaron v'yamar to'elav ba'alosecha ha-neiros. When you're going to go and kindle the lights, mul pnei ha-menorah, you'll stand adjacent to the menorah, Ya'iru Shivas Haneros. And then the 7 candelabra, the 7 candles in the menorah will be kindled. Not like the 8 in the Hanukkah, but the 7. Maybe I'll mute everybody so you can't hear each other. But if you have any questions, you'll come right back. So Rashi, of course, brings, and Rashi asks, Lama nismacha parshas menorah la parshas hanesiim. Why is it that the menorah is here? It's actually brought in Shmos. It's taught much earlier in the Torah, right? After in Truma. So what are we doing over here? So Rashi says it comes after the Chanukah Hamizbeach, after the consecration ceremony of the Mishkan, because Aaron was feeling bad. Why was Aaron feeling bad? Aaron was feeling bad because everybody else got to bring the sacrifices, and Aaron didn't. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Aaron, don't worry. Right? Shelcha Gedola Meshalahem. Yours is greater than theirs because you are mativ umadlik es haneros. That you are going to be the one who kindles every single day the menorah. Okay. The Ramban comes, famous Ramban, and he says, but eventually the Beis HaMikdash, the Batei Mikdash would be destroyed. Why is this so comforting to Aaron? And why specifically this? And the Ramban says that this reflects the miracle of Hanukkah. The miracle of Hanukkah that was performed by the Kohanim, and that for all time Jews would be lighting Hanukkah candles, and that should be a comfort. But I want us to consider, as we go through the 3 subjects, the 3 mini narratives in the Parsha, what might the menorah be teaching us? Menorahs are fascinating with all of its nooks and crannies and flowers and base, and there's a fantastic numerical equivalent of all the different intricacies. And what's fascinating about the menorah is that the 3 lights on either side of the center candle were all facing inward towards the inner light. As if to say that the reason why we have menorah is not because we need the light, right? We don't need the physical light. The menorah represents the spiritual light. And it's supposed to light up our path. And I want us to think about what that lesson of the menorah, in addition to it being here to teach us the lessons of Rashi and the Ramban, if there's anything else that we could possibly consider it's coming to teach us. So amidst this fantastic Parsha, I'm so glad people are back either on the parking lots or in shuls this Shabbos, because you just can't miss this Parsha. It's so packed. First the menorah, and then the consecration of the Leviim. It's miraculous how Aaron was able to lift over 22,000 Leviim and shake them like lulavim. Each one of the Leviim were consecrated and dedicated for service in the Beis HaMikdash. And after that, it was time to learn how we were going to travel in the desert. But before that, Parshas Baloscha, we have the Pesach Sheni, right? Because there were certain Jews, the Gemara says in Psachim, that it could have been, it was those that were carrying the coffin of Yosef, that they were Tamei Meis, and they were not able, it was a Meis Mitzvah, they weren't able to bring the regular Korban Pesach, so we learn about Pesach Sheni, which is a sugya all into itself, not for tonight. And then we learn about how the traveling, the order of the traveling of the camp, and then we have the trumpet ceremony. It's unbelievable. And there were different notes that the trumpets were sounded, when to call the leaders together, when to start marching, how to stop marching. There were special notes that were sounded for people to know different notes meant different. And that's also a fantastic sugya worth investigating. However, the first of the three that I want to discuss tonight is the sudden departure of Yisro, whose name here is called Chovav ben Reuel. This is reflected also in the fourth aliyah of Parshas Yisro, when it says there, Vayishalach Moshe es chosno, that Moshe sent his father-in-law along the way. And there's this fascinating interchange here. Vayomer Moshe, l'chovav Reuel Amidyoni. Moshe said to his shver, Chosin Moshe, Nosim anachnu el hamokom asher amar Hashem oso etein lachem. We're traveling. It's going to be only 3 days. That's what they thought. We're on our way into Israel. That's all it's supposed to take. Stay with us. We're going to the promised land. Asher amar Hashem oso etein lachem. L'cha itanu, come with us. Ve'tavnu lach. And we'll find a way to give you some land also. The Mefarshim say, because of the fact that since he was a convert, he was not affiliated with any tribe. However, they were going to give him something in Yericho. Okay? Ki Hashem diber tov al Yisrael vayomer alav. Yisro said, my dear son-in-law, lo elech, I'm not going. Emel artzi ve'el moladti elech, I'm going back home. And Moshe said, no. Sounds a little bit like Rus. Moshe said, Al na tazov osanu, don't leave us, Dad. Ki al ken yodata chanosenu b'midbar, you've seen the miracles. Vayisol lanu le'inayim, and you've been such a support. You've helped us set up the court systems, the Sanhedrin. V'haya kiselech imanu v'haya tov ahu asher yetiv Hashem imanu. And sure enough, it didn't happen. Yisro left. So there are opinions that say that Yisro left because he wanted to go back home to be Megayer, to convert the rest of his family, and he would want to catch up with them at a different time. But there are other Mefarshim that say no, he left. And I'd like to understand what that's all about. It's really something very unique. So I'm going to bring you over to a screen where we're going to be able to read together a Chassam Sofer, I hope. Share screen. Here he is. I don't know how to do it in a way that I can. There it is. Okay. Chova ben Reuel Midyani Chosen Moshe Nira Kitzipora Afal Gav Shenisgaira Kishanasa Moshe Mikol Makom Kodam Matan Torah Lo Haya Ger Shenisgair Az Kekatan Shanolad. We're forgetting something over here, says the Chassam Sofer. Something that you may not have picked up. And that is that there's an amazing halacha that if a brother and a sister who are not Jewish convert, according to the Torah, they're allowed to marry each other because they're no longer related. Rabbinically, we say they shouldn't because it doesn't look nice, it'll get people to do the wrong thing. So, Yisro, once Matan Torah happened, he is like reborn because he was converted. And therefore, he's no longer considered, third line here, Achachar Matan Torah shenis gayer, Yisro v'nasu kekatan shenolad. It's like he's no longer her father. Upaska korva shebenehem. Be'ena yor shemod ben Torah zed al pi halacha. Ba'afilu ach muter lisa achoso, as I said, you can marry your sister. Shum lo haya od chosin Moshe v'chol ma shenimsa kasav alav chosin Moshe rotzalomar chosno shehaya kvar. Means he used to be his father-in-law. He lost that status. Skip the parentheses. Ukamo avdi shehaya kvar al kein hacha tala hachitun bereuel shalanis gayer adayin. That's why it says Chovav ben Reuel, because Reuel may have been the grandfather. And he was still related because he didn't convert yet. Below Yisraeli, Al Ken Chova ben Reuel Midyani Daika, V'zeh Midyani Uchosin Moshe, V'hainu Avi Avi Ishto. Okay, skip. Right there. K'bchi Hashem diber tov al Yisrael, ki roa shenasa b'saro chrudin. But you want to know why Yisro chose to leave? One reason is because it was going to be very hard for him to see all the other nations that he was involved with expelled when they left to Israel, when they got into Israel. It says in Yisro, Vayichad Yisro, Rav Amar Shenaseh B'saro Chdudin, that Yisro was disturbed when he heard about the destruction of Egypt. Imkein lo yirtzel aleches liros ibud haknanim. Yisro was hesitant to go in. Al kein amalei haya diber tov al Yisrael v'lo ra l'knanim ki im yirtzu yashlimu o yiftu misham kamo girgashi. And Moshe said, don't worry. If they want to leave on their own, the 31 kings, they can. We don't have to go to war against them. After the parentheses here, v'chein haya be'emes ilu lo chatu lo haya tzricha milchama v'cherev v'chanisa, as we say. But Yisro said, lo elech ki em el artzi v'lo molati elech. I'm going my own way. Pirish, b'shem, I don't know who. Ki ein ha-talmud zoche l'shlemis madregaso ad hipardu me'es rabo. Yisro felt he learned enough from his son-in-law. Vahi achrei mos Avraham vayivarach Hashem es Yitzchak. Yitzchak only became great after Avraham went to the next world. And therefore he thought, Lo elech lios b'madreges mahalach ki im el artzi. The only way I'm going to become something, biel molati elech, is if I go back home tchila. B'sham eyeh b'gdulaso shel olam, and then I can become great. Upo ma eske negdechem. I'm not going to be anything over here. Moshe shivu ki lo keinu livchor liyos rosh l'shualim. Who says you have to be an Indian chief? Why do you have to be the head of the foxes? Ki im zon of larayos. Be a tail to the lions. As Chazal say, liolam yidor adam b'mokum rabo. A person should always live near his Rebbe. V'atnan liolam al yidor adam b'mokum rabo, meshane haditzayis l'rabo adalotzayis. When you're going to listen to him. Yisro tzayis v'savo chaniasam b'midbar nachash saraf ha'akrav v'zeu al nat tazov osanu. And he didn't want him to leave. We love you. You loved us. It wasn't difficult. Ein l'cha lazov osanu v'hu hipich pasuk hasamuch v'yisu meyar Hashem. Nevertheless, he left. As it says, Al na tazov osanu Yitzro ratza leila chalartzam la'atoki shamu atzadik ma'she'en kein bein Yisrael al das ba'aseh lai lahazkir avoni lahami says b'ni amalei Moshe lo shalom al na tazov osanu, don't leave. So you see here an amazing thing, that he was conflicted. Moshe Rabbeinu was Yisro was conflicted. He was forever happy to be with his daughter and in the place of truth, yet at the same time he felt that he was only going to be able to reach his potential if he moved back to Midian, which he was not a beloved fellow over there, if you remember. And so, I don't think that too many Jews named their children Jethro, Yisro. I mean, maybe there are some Israelis. I know that there years ago there was a rock group, right? But I don't know too many people who named their kids Yisro, because he left. Okay, but now we understand what his conflict was. His conflict was that he felt a bit displaced. He's not even halachically his daughter's father anymore. He was not going to get a natural inheritance. And he said, I'm never going to be what Moshe is, and therefore I'm used to being the head of society. I'm going to go back, and we don't hear from him again. That's number one. The second section that I want to focus on is we're introduced to two people that we don't know very much about. And they are Eldad and Medad. Who are Eldad and Medad? I actually know that there's a person who lives in the old city who has twin boys, and he named them Eldad and Medad. And Chazal tell us exactly who Eldad and Medad is. We'll look at it in a moment. But before we do that, take a look at what happened. Moshe Rabbeinu is told by Hashem to collect 70 people to make a new Sanhedrin, and he was going to, that they would help him in his leadership, because Jews aren't always so easy to lead. And there was a problem, because he told them that they should have 70. And 70 doesn't divide equally into 12 tribes. And so we'll see in a moment what he did. And there were two people there, Eldad and Medad, who, according to some midrashim, were counted as part of the 70, and according to others, they were outside the 70. But they did not join the prophecy party to go with them to the Ohel Moed. Instead, they stayed in the camp. And it came to pass, Vayikin Noach aleim, when the 70 new prophets received prophecy, Vayisnabu v'lo yasafu, Vayisharu shnei anoshu b'machane. There were two people who stayed in the camp. One of them was Eldad, one of them was Medad. And they had extra long prophecy. And their prophecy, we're taught, was that Moshe was going to die and Yoshua was going to take the Jewish people into the land of Israel. Well, that didn't sit very well. Vayarat Hanar, Gershom, Moshe's son, went running to Moshe and said, you know what these guys are doing? And Yoshua, his faithful servant, came to Moshe and says, Kilaim, stop them, incarcerate them. How dare they prophesize like this out in the open and say the things that they're saying? And you know what Moshe said? Moshe says, Mi'itein kol ha'am Hashem neviim. He says, I wish all Jews would have prophecy like they do right now. So first of all, who was Eldad and Medad? So there's a couple of opinions, but the one that we'll go with right now is that they were Moshe's brothers, either paternally or maternally, but not both. Okay? When Amram was separated from his wife, so either afterwards or during, Eldad and Medad were the children, became brothers, half-brothers of Moshe Rabbeinu. And what I want to focus on for a moment is, why did they get their prophecy? And their prophecy seemed to be greater than the other 70. So what was it about Eldad and Medad that produced that extra beautiful experience? And here it is. The Medrash Rabbah says, Esfali shivim ish b'shah sh'amalo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Esfali shivim ish amar Moshe ma'aseh ma'avi chamisha. He says, what am I supposed to do? If I bring 5 from every one of the 12 tribes, I only get 60. Eino olam l'minyan shivim. It's not going to be 70. It's going to be 60. V'mavi shisha mishevet zeh v'chamisha mishevet zeh. If I take 6 from this tribe and 5 from that tribe, harani matul kina. I'm going to make enemies and jealousy. Ma'asa natul shivim ushnayim psakin. He took like a magic hat, I don't know what he stuck it in, and he put 72 little pieces of paper, like Post-it notes, right? And he wrote on 70 of them Zakein, which means wisdom, and 2 of them he wrote Chalak. He left them blank. And he stuck them in a big basket or a big hat. And Amar bo v'tolu pisakchem. Come and take. Misha ola biyado pesek siv bo zakein. Anybody who has zakein written on it, great. V'yam ola biyado chalak. But if you did not get zakein on it, you know you weren't appointed. V'mamuna omer lo arei sham petek echad kasu bo zakein ilu ha'isa roi. And that's how the 70 were chosen. But Eldad and Medad were there, Hayusham, Umiyatu Atzman, and they humbled themselves. And they said, Ein anu kedai, lios b'minoyas kenim. We are not deserving to be one of the Zkenim. And the reward was, B'al shemiyatu atzman, since they humbled themselves. When you humble yourself, you get more. Nimsu yiseirim al Zkenim chmisha dvarim. They got 5 extra gifts, awards, more than the other 70. They The 70 only prophesied that day, the next day. And they continued for 40 years. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that Eldad and Medad, because they went ahead and they humbled themselves, they merited to have prophecy for the next 70 years, for the next 40 years. And they became outstanding prophets in the Jewish people. So that was narrative number 2. Narrative number 1 was Yisro seemed to humble himself and say, I don't really belong here anymore. I can do better elsewhere. And narrative number 2 is that Eldad and Medad also humbled themselves and said, we're not deserving. Hashem said they were deserving. What's the final narrative that I'd like to discuss with us tonight? We're going to end a little bit shorter because it rained this morning in Cherry Hill, so we have to go early to Mincha, to Lane at Mincha time. At the end of the Parsha, when Eldad and Medad continued to prophesize, Tzipporah went ahead and she whispered into Miriam's ear. And she said, Oy vey, I hope Mrs. Eldad and Mrs. Medad know that once their husbands become prophets, they're no longer able to live married anymore. Because ever since Har Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu, once he was wearing his mask, when he came down from Har Sinai, he no longer lived. He no longer was, in effect, behaving married with Tzipporah any longer. And now we have an amazing thing. Miriam is worried about her brother Moshe. And she goes and vatidaber Miriam el Aaron. Miriam went with Aaron and Moshe, and they spoke about Moshe al isha kushis asher lokach, about the fact that he separated from his wife. Well, you know what happens next? Moshe didn't get upset. Ha'ish Moshe anav ma'od mikol adam. Moshe was the most humble of all men. Moshe never got, I don't want to say never got upset, but Moshe took Hashem and the Torah seriously, but he was not filled with unnecessary thoughts of any haughtiness whatsoever. He was the most humble of all men. Asher al pnei adama. Vayomer Hashem pitom. Hashem said suddenly, Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, I want you all to come to the Ohel Moed. And what happens? Aaron and Miriam can't come because they're ritually not capable. They're ritually impure. And since Moshe is always on call 24/7, he's able to come. So with action, Hashem shows that this is the reason why Moshe always has to be in a ritually pure state. And I prophesize to him, rather I give him prophecy, says God, like no one else. Lokein avdi Moshe b'chol beisi nemanu. He's the most, not only humble, but the most faithful of all. Pel pel daber bo. I speak to him face to face, right? Without imagery, like the other prophets throughout history. Why aren't you frightened? Now, Miriam got saras. The question is, why didn't Aaron and Miriam think and give Moshe the benefit of the doubt? Right? Why didn't they humble their thoughts at that moment? Even though it's understandable that you should be worried about your brother, that if you thought he was married and now you just found out through happenstance that since Har Sinai, already for about a year, now he has not been able to be married, living with his wife, of course that would startle you, but why don't you discuss it with him? So look at what the last share screen says. V'tidaber Miriam v'Aaron hi pascha b'dibor lefikach ikdima akasu b'nayin ha'isa yodas Miriam sheperish Moshe min ha'isha. How did Miriam know that Moshe separated from his wife? Rabbi Nassan Omer Miriam ha'isa b'tzad Tzipora. Miriam was standing by Tzipora at the moment where it says LeMoshe Eldad u'Medad misnabim b'nachana, that Eldad and Medad were prophesying. Kivin Sheshama Tzipora, when Tzipora heard this, Amra oy l'nishosein, woe to Mrs. Eldad and Mrs. Medad. Imheim niskokim l'nevuah, because once they're prophets, hayu parshim b'machane, they're going to separate from themselves in the camp. Minishosein, now they're going to separate from their wives. Kiderach sheperish ba'ali mimeni, umisham yada Miriam v'gida la'aron. And then she went ahead and told Aaron, and Ma Miriam shalom niskavna l'gnuso, even though Miriam had no intention of speaking negatively about, I'm getting this year now, guys, you can't come in. And even though Miriam had no intention whatsoever to speak negatively, and she was punished with tsaras, how much more so in our world, if people do mean to speak negatively, is it possible that they're going to be punished, if not with tsaras, then with something? Lashon Hara, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed from Lashon Hara. It's so hard. So those are the three narratives. I want to shed a little light on those three narratives, because each one of them has a puzzle. How come Yisro didn't want to continue? How come Eldad and Medad didn't want to be? Their humility, but their humility was rewarded, and Yisro's not seemed to be rewarded. And why is it that Miriam, Hanaviah, didn't have the humility to think maybe Moshe knows what he's doing, and go and ask him before you talk about him, which is what you're always supposed to do. If you hear something that's disturbing to you, don't talk about it with others. Go to the person. So I was thinking that perhaps it's possible to say that it's the menorah. It's the light of the menorah that's supposed to pave the way for everybody, the spiritual light, that even if I'm feeling humbled, even if I don't think I'm deserving, even if I think I know better, let the light of the menorah help us find our place. By Yisro, Moshe told him, you come with us. But Yisro didn't listen, so to speak, of the words emanating from the light of the menorah, so to speak. Eldad and Medad, they thought maybe they didn't deserve, but really they saw that when the prophecy came, sure enough, they followed the light of the menorah. And Miriam was treated, so to speak, to tsaras, because she didn't ask, and then she had to follow the light of the menorah, and she was put in quarantine, how apropos, for the next 7 days until everybody was ready to leave. So the lesson in Parshas Balosecha is that in these pocket narratives that you can miss amidst all the fantastic detail of the Parsha, is let that light of the menorah pave our way forward and not get caught in only our own inclinations and our own intuitions. Sure, we have to think carefully. We have to make the best choices possible. But at the end of the day, we need to follow the light of Hashem's menorah.